Bismillah, sudahi dengan Alhamdulillah. Begitulah sehari dalam hidup kita, mudah-mudahan dirahmati Allah. Begitulah sehari dalam hidup kita, mudah-mudahan dirahmati Allah.
Assalamualaikum everyone, welcome to Talk to Terrence and thank you for joining us this week. Jazz, that was beautiful, man.
Thank you.
Now this week, as you notice, there's a slight different vibe going on as we hope to delve into the subject of Islam as a way of life. Yes, Eid al-Adha is upon us and that's part of the reason why we're doing this, but we also would like to address some of the challenges that Muslims face in modern life. It is a world filled with social media, lots of different ideologies get amplified, but I've always maintained the fact that religion gives you a sense of peace, calmness, and serenity. You understand why you're doing what you're doing in your daily life. Now, atheists and people without that concept may say, we do it just because we're human and we want to make the world a better place, we want to leave an impact. And for Muslims, of course, having Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala in our life means that we also have guiding principles, and the reason we follow these guiding principles is because we honor Him. And without it, it seems like all you're doing is cut flower ethics, which is basically just ethics without a reason. And that's why I believe in the principles in line in religion, and I want to further delve into the topic of Islam as a way of life simply because we face a lot of challenges, we face a lot of different contrasting worldviews, and we'd like to present a case for Islam. So on that note, we shall delve into our subject of conversation shortly, but believe it or not, today we're going to start off with a little bit of technology. That's right. Islam was at the height of technological revolutions. I mean, think algebra. That's one invention, or rather thesis, that became part of mathematics as we know it today. Lots of other theories were also derived from Muslim scholars. So today we're going to look at a piece of technology that's been developed to help Muslims, especially those who have just accepted the religion, understand the Quran a little better and improve your reading. So don't go anywhere. Talk to Terrence. We'll be right back with this piece of technology as we delve into the subject once again, Islam as a way of life. Don't go anywhere. Welcome back to the show. Now, in line with our conversation that's focused on Islam as a way of life, our high-tech segment today focuses on technology that's been developed to help Muslims read the Quran better. The Quran is the centerpiece of Islamic law, and it helps understand the religion better. So, without further ado, allow me to introduce Datin Fiza. Thank you for joining us.
Thank you, Terrence, for inviting me.
And you've brought with you some digital Qurans.
Yes.
Now, why do we need digital Qurans?
Okay, I think something that we cannot deny, looking at our real schedule, the real life nowadays, most of the time we are very busy. It's either you stuck in the jam or you're occupied with so many things. So that is also the reason why people always say that they cannot occupy themselves to read more Quran or to understand Quran or to learn a Quran.
Okay.
And not only that, we have so many non-Muslim people or reverts actually, okay, and they want to learn a Quran. And sometimes certain age and due to the it's either location, time, and make them very difficult to understand a Quran. So in Arai Hijrah, what we do is we introduce a digital Quran where you can learn from Iqra to Al-Quran, the full Quran.
Wow. And you do not need a mentor, as a lot of people realize. In order to learn, you need to study, tutelage under an ustad or ustazah who will teach you how to read the Quran. But with this system you've developed, there's no need for someone to teach you. You can actually learn by yourself.
Okay, what we do is this is initiative for you to get close to a Quran, to understand Quran, to learn a Quran. But it cannot replace. So we cannot use words replace. For example, okay, when you get married, you have a wife to help to clean your clothes, everything. And you have washing machine. Don't tell me that washing machine will replace your wife. It's another thing to help you to make things easier. So you cannot say the excuse that, okay, I have to wait until I pencen to learn Al-Quran.
Right.
So the problem is pencen is always there. I just worry that we cannot reach that age.
If I ever told my wife the washing machine will replace you, dear, she will replace me. Okay, that's it. Let's get started.
Okay.
So demonstrate how it works.
Okay, very simple. And it's a rechargeable. It comes with a pen. There, okay, of course, I love bling bling. You can see from my abaya, and
This is
that's the reason why
uniquely you.
Yes, is when talking about me, it's definitely come with the bling bling, and we have 3 types actually, and I brought 2, and especially this one. This is the most sellable because why? It's the one and only in Malaysia that teach per kata. That means the wording.
Each alphabet.
Yes, and then okay, we start with Iqra. Okay, you start here.
Al-Qalam.
All right.
Iqra is the beginning. What you need to learn
Yeah.
before you delve into the Quran is recognizing the huruf or the abjad.
Sometimes they ask me, Datin, can you try to mengaji? So I say, alif, ba, ta, sa, jim, ha, kha, da, za, ro, zain, shim, sim, so. So tadi they say to me, Datin, that's not mengaji. You can, if you don't know alif, ba, ta, or you cannot know alif, lam, mim.
Right.
You have to know from alif, ba, ta. So they come with.
Alif, ba, ta.
So just imagine when you send our kids to school, they come back, they need a revision book. So when you send our kids to mengaji, this is the revision book.
Right.
You cannot mengaji just when you see the ustaz or ustazah. That's the reason why you become lidah you. When you go and mengaji, you become rappers. Ketuk. Okay, so this so this the one that come with the censored. Okay.
Mushaf Al-Fatih.
Okay, then you start to see. Okay, most of the digital Al-Quran, they can read one paragraph.
And
or
the full Quran.
The full Quran. But this is the only one in Malaysia that, I cannot proclaim the whole world, that in Malaysia actually, especially. So far, I bought 7 Al-Quran digital from outside Malaysia, and still not, I haven't found one that can read per kata. So this one can read per kata. Sometimes you need to know per kata, the wording. And this is the only one in Malaysia can teach you also tajweed.
Tanwin bertemu huruf mim, hukumnya idgham bi gunnah.
This is the grammar of the
Yeah.
Quran. So it does help a lot in terms of recitation when you know the grammatical norms and you're reminded.
Yeah.
So this is quite amazing, Datin. Can you tell us a little bit more about the technology behind it? How does it work?
How does it work? Okay, we have to get the, there's a few scholars to combine, and this is actually recording one by one. We even have one more pen they call ukwai. Ukwai means intelligent, okay? That the one pen can read the whole Al-Quran, even it's not a digital Quran.
Interesting.
Just because, okay, when people start to say, how the technology, there's a research we do from since, I think 2000, and we have to come up with something that not just a typical, and to solve, you know, when you want to come up with something, it's supposed to be something that to solve other people's problem, okay? And like me, previously, before I'm selling Quran, I'm still a unit trust consultant. My time is quite flexible but fully occupied. So when you start to say that how to learn Al-Quran and to get close to Quran or to understand Al-Quran, then I start to see that, okay, this is a difficulty. And then when we come to the point that you learn Al-Quran, you need to know more tajweed. You need to know the tajweed. So it's again, if you want to go tajweed class or any online class, if we're talking about digital, then people start to say, you can go online class. Okay, in general, online class is in morning until 10 o'clock.
Yep, roughly.
Okay. What time do you go back? Sometimes 12.
Yeah. For
Sometimes
me, yes, that's true.
And then sometimes like me, I married late. I'm now I'm married. I mean, last time married late. Sometimes you wake up in the midnight. At night you feel lonely. I feel so lonely. I got nobody. Okay, lepas tu you nak baca Quran, you want to read Quran. So there's a time you cannot go online. You cannot see, okay, which ustaz or ustazah can occupy at this time, okay? I mean, available at this time. So this is the reason why we come up with this Al-Quran Digital. Of course, it comes with so many research and development. Okay, let's see into this one. This is size A5, and people always ask me, okay, what is this? This is my favorite Al-Quran. They call, kalau dalam bahasa Malaysia, we call it Taranum. So usually, people want to say, okay, how to, you know, sometimes it's like a music. They got certain things that you love to, let people say that they sing into my ears. So you bangun tengah malam, you wake up at middle of the night, then this is what you want to listen.
MashaAllah, that's very nice. That's very beautiful.
Talking about this, and then people to ask me, okay, what's so important to use that kind of taranum or voice?
A female voice.
A female voice, okay. Okay, you want, okay, sometimes people ask me, Datin, I don't understand. Even though it's their mengaji also, I don't understand. How many of you understand Hindustan punya lagu? When they're singing and you cry. Betul tak? Betul tak? When they start to sing, Yado Kibarat, I think that's the kind of story that everybody like teringat the three.
Hati Mere Sati.
Yeah, Hati Mere Sati kan. Okay, so it's just the same thing that we apply into Al-Quran. We want them to, you know, feel comfortable, love the sound, and they get close to Quran. That's what we use the technology for.
So melody is also important, tonality is important, and all these are highlighted within the context of the digital Quran. We'd like to thank you for sharing this piece of technology with us today on our show, and we're looking forward to understanding a little bit more about what you do in our next visit. Hopefully you can come back and join us soon, Datin.
Definitely, inshallah, and thank you so much for your time and for the opportunity to call me in to share some things about how to get close by using the technology to get close to a Quran. Inshallah.
Thank you, Datin Fiza.
Thank you very much. Assalamualaikum.
Walaikum salam. We will be back talking about Islam as a way of life. We have a lot of questions for our guests and a very interesting piece of conversation that's about to unfold with one of your favorite TikTokers. Don't go anywhere. Jazz music is just extra serene today. It's just extra calm. And that's probably because we're having a conversation about Islam. Thank you, Jazz, for the beautiful music as usual. And coming back to our main topic, I'm going to lead with something Dave Chappelle once said. He said, I'm a Muslim, but that doesn't mean I'm good at it. Same goes for most of us. Muslims, we're trying, we're learning, we're falling back sometimes, and it's all a process of growing into our faith. So I have someone with me who obviously knows a lot better about the religion from a theocratic point of view, from the theology, and also how it is implemented in society today. So we have Dr. Rushdan. Thank you very much for joining us. He's a senior lecturer at USIM. And which department are you focused on in USIM?
Yeah, I came from the Department of Aqidah and Religion Study.
All right, so we have the right man for our conversation today. So, Doctor, first and foremost, how do you define Islam as a way of life, especially in this very challenging modern world that we live in?
Yeah. Well, better we understand Islam from its Arabic original term. So, the word Islam can be seen coming from three different other terms. First, we call it salam, mean peace. And then salima means safe, and then aslama, to surrender or to submit. So if you understand these three terms correctly, it are actually connecting one to another. So it means that when we submit ourselves to the divine will, to God the Almighty, we are actually in the safe side. And eventually, we have a very peaceful condition. So this is the general idea about Islam. Then when we talk Islam in the general perspective, we should also understand that Islam needs to be seen as a tripartite relation. It means that God the Almighty, human being, it can be man or woman, and then the creation of God. So these three relations are very, very connected to one another. So in the context of, for example, we and God, it means that we will have to submit to the divine law, to divine will, to the divine obligation. And then the context of we as human beings, we should understand that Islam actually very clear about how we should organize ourselves in the human context. For example, in the context of food, clothing, health, in the context of how we respect each other, and then how we should apply and practice the right virtues. For example, equity, justice, the high moral conduct, ethics, manners, everything. And then in the context of human activities or human actions, Islam will teach us about knowledge and education, encourages about science and technology, talking about politics, economics, talking about how we should understand and respect other people, non-Muslim, in particular maybe the people of the book. Yeah. And then in the context of, for example...
Could you just define people of the book for our viewers?
People of the book, basically, we refer to Christian and Judaism. These two plus Islam, they are considered as a revealed religion. So we consider them as people of the book, those who believe in their Old Testament or New Testament. Yeah.
To the secular world, Abrahamic faiths or
Correct.
the Semitic religions.
Yeah.
So those are basically defined by Muslims as being people of the book.
Yeah.
When we look at the modern world, it is very hard to find balance in the way that Islam teaches.
Yeah.
But if we follow the systems and the steps laid in place, I do believe we can get there.
Yeah.
That's my belief. Maybe as Muslims, we are biased towards
Yes.
that worldview, but in all honesty, if we look at how the politics of even the caliphs
Yes.
were formed, there was peace for a very long period of time, and chaos only started coming in when people kind of deviated from that path.
Correct.
So when we look at the modern world, there's a lot of challenges that face us,
Yes.
simply because social media amplifies all these
Correct. Yes.
elements.
No doubt. Yeah.
How do we deal with it?
Yeah. Okay. We know that in this current context, we can categorize those who misinterpret Islam into 2 or 3 groups. First group is to be considered as those who really completely reject the teaching of Islam from the very first day. There are so many reasons behind that. And they accuse Islam as a primitive tradition, a barbaric legal system, and then they have their own ideas, ideology behind that. Of course, they have secularism and other ism, which they hold, lead them to have such idea. This is the first group. The second group, those people who misinterpret Islam because they are not having right ideas, right knowledge, right information about Islam. Or perhaps they get wrong sources, and then they deal with wrong people, wrong guru. And because of that, they have negative idea about Islam. And the third group, those who misinterpret Islam because they judge Islam from the practice of Muslims.
Right.
Okay, which, for certain reason, they have their own judgment, preconceived ideas about Islam based on the certain bad behavior of Muslims. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, these 3 groups.
So these are 3 groups that probably have arguments against the religion.
Yeah.
But from Muslims themselves who are entrenched in the religion, some are born Muslims, they also have questions that are raised. Is there room for discussion, interpretation, dialogue within the Muslim faith first?
Yeah, definitely. We do have this. Islam always consider religions and logic or rational as 2 things which we have to uphold and embrace. There's no such thing in Islam. The notions of principle of religion Islam contradict to the logical and rational. It always go very, very clear in line with them. Okay, now we're talking about how we should interpret Islam correctly. Many people, they don't have any concerns about the belief aspect and the ethical aspect because they sound like universal ideas.
Even the 5 basic principles.
Everybody respect justice,
Right.
equity, goodness, okay, all the knowledge of ethics. Nobody argue on that. But perhaps the part that people might argue is on the Sharia, or law. Okay. Here, the idea is they have difficult idea to understand Sharia and law. Actually, they are two different things. Yeah, Sharia is a divine decree, and divine decree plus theology and plus ethics. From the very first day of our beloved Prophet, peace be upon him, until now, they are similar and same. No changing at all. The changing is when people interpret the Sharia.
And
Interpreting.
codify it.
Yes.
Interpret and codify.
Yes. This is called as law.
Right.
Okay, or some people call it fake. Yeah, that's why we have different school of fake. And then different kind of law, for example, law of inheritance, law of marriage, family law, or criminal law, and other different law. And these will be interpreted differently based on for example, countries,
Right.
based on background of customs, okay? And maybe times and context also might also contribute to the different idea of how people interpret this law. Yeah.
All right, so that leads me to my next question. If religion, especially Islam, is personal to each individual, each Muslim, why does it need to be enforced by law?
Yeah. Again, when we talk about the idea of being a Muslim, it started from the idea of surrender and submit to God. Okay. Talking to born Muslim, they may have naturally and family kind of understanding about this idea. But those who embrace Islam or convert to Islam, they may have this kind of idea as well, okay? But they might also have some other background to understand this, because they may come from different kind of religion. So what I can say like this, Islam actually will not stop people to think and to give ideas in order to submit himself or herself to God. Okay, we will not stop you for giving ideas. Okay, when talking about do Islam enforce law in the context of personal, I will say to a certain extent yes, especially when it connected to the society interest, to the community interest. That one, because Islam do not split between the individual and community. It need to come together. Okay, so in this context, it need to be considered as support each other. Meanwhile, in the context of practices, whether you want to pray or not, you want to wear hijab or not, this is your own choice actually. Okay, because nobody can force you. I mean, in general sense, nobody can force you.
Right, absolutely.
If you want to do it, you do it. If you don't do it, it's up to you. Because you are the one who will submit, will answer to God. Not your mother, not your friends, not your colleagues.
There is a quote from another faith, but I think it resonates with what you just said.
Yeah.
Give what belongs to Caesar, give what belongs to God, to God.
Okay.
So basically, follow the law and also follow the decree and commands of your religion.
Yeah.
So I think both are very important, and we need to make that distinction. Thank you for stating that there is a distinction there between law and Sharia. We're going to take a quick break, and when we come back, we'll have one of your favorite TikTokers live here with us on Talk to Terrence. Don't go anywhere. We're back on Talk to Terrence, and I hope that you are enjoying this conversation so far. I know that we can't explore every aspect of the topic because it's very wide. Islam is a way of life. So up next, my next guest. She is huge on TikTok, and she demonstrates the way she works with animals. She's famous. She is someone that you relate to. You ask her tons of questions, and we have her in the show to actually give you another perspective of this subject. So please help me welcome my guest at this time, the one and only Dr. Ima. Assalamualaikum, Doctor.
Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Come, please, have a seat. How are you doing?
Alhamdulillah, great as usual.
As
Yeah,
usual,
as
yes.
usual.
Love your videos. You know, my daughter's a big fan.
Oh, thank
she wants to
you.
grow up to be a zoologist, so she's using your
That's
videos
good, that's
as a
good,
guideline.
that's good.
What kinds of questions do you get? Because your videos are public, they're all over the place. What kind of questions do you get as a vet in your line of work?
Okay, that's a very favorite question. I mean, most of the time I receive these kind of questions, which is very common for me. Those are the things that related to, as I'm practicing as a veterinarian and also a Muslim at the same time, of course. When my job and my profession is treating animals, so there's no discrimination against species. So the most common question is, can you touch doctor? You are a Muslim, you're wearing tudung, you're wearing hijab, so why are you touching dogs? Isn't it haram in Islam? So basically this type of questions being asked by the non-Muslims, it's okay. For me, they want to know because they have been they have been known to this kind of information, which is dogs are haram for Muslims especially. So, I'm explaining to them that this actually is one of my job, one of our tasks, that we should not discriminate any kind of animals, regardless of their hukum especially. So the term haram is sometimes being related to my job, and I have been questioned, don't you have any other jobs? Because this job is haram, by touching dogs is haram. So that are the common thing that I have been facing from I was being a student until now, 13 years of working. I'm still having the same questions.
Yeah,
so,
I know, because you make many videos
about
a
a
same
lot.
topic.
A lot.
So how do you overcome that? And especially when it comes to your line of work and the animals that come in, which are sick and in need of your care, how do you correlate the two kind of seemingly conflicting practices, which are not? How do you how do you connect the practice of Islam with your job?
I have this like principle of myself. If I want to educate people, I have to make it synchronized. Okay, I may not be the right person to mention or explain about religion, because our people, I mean our society, they have this typical judgment. Sometimes, oh, you are a doctor, you just do your job. You're not supposed to explain of the hukum or the things that related to religion because you are not the one, you're not the ahli. So I'm just doing my part as a human, okay, as a human, because of humanity actually applies to all religion. It's not specific for Islam only. But then it seems like there's some issue there when it's related to humanity. Things that against humanity is actually our the people from our religion itself. So it's kind of frustrating, as this thing that makes me that triggered me actually to give this kind of education, probably not into deep to the religion wise, but how we can relate to the humanity and also our religion, how actually our religion, especially Islam, lead us to the kindness, act of kindness.
Absolutely.
Yeah, act of kindness. And then how actually we are dealing with this najis, for example. So sometimes they thought that it's haram, but actually it's more to the najis
Category.
grouping.
And I believe vets are not the only ones that deal with dogs. I mean, they're members of the armed forces and military
True,
services
yeah.
who also have to use dogs
Dogs, yes.
in their daily jobs, and most of the time they're paired with their animal. So it is not just vets that deal with the dogs. Can you respond to this, doctor? Since you come from a more academic background, so how do you respond to the stereotypes out there that paint dogs as being haram or dogs as being a category of animal that we should not interact with?
Yeah. First and foremost, we should understand that God is the one who created God. I'm sorry, who
Dogs,
created dogs.
yeah.
Okay, not human create dog. So of course, once God create dog, we consider that is the creation of God. So basically, we should give our respect and responsibility. If someone think that he want to take care and look after dogs, and we of course respect those who really protect dog or really take care of this dog. And we have some guideline. We have the ideas of rule and regulation on that. As long as we follow the idea of faith and we clear about that, people should respect their professions, give them a room to practice this, and don't simply criticize them of what they have done, but because of maybe they are not in the so-called mass group of people who do it.
Right.
But at least give room for these people.
Right.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Thank you for that, Doctor. I think that helps a lot of people understand better the situations that each of us have to face.
Yeah.
And some of the time, we notice that there's a lot of conversation on the role of women in Islam. And it is said that women are unfairly treated within the religious context. Dr. Imam, first I want to ask you about where you see the role of women in Islam.
Okay, personally, I have never felt that I've been oppressed as a Muslim woman. Okay, as far as I live, I think woman has been given the chance of fairness. Okay, we are actually support each other, regardless what gender you are. It's just that probably some group of people that have this like kind of budaya that probably seems human should not be the same level as men, but basically different gender have different speciality, and they if this job cannot be done by men, but sometimes this job fairly can be done by a woman, and vice versa.
Right.
So for me, Islam has not been downgrading women at all, and me myself as a woman, I feel proud because of I've been expressing myself as a Muslim woman at my best. Probably I don't know what other people might think of me, but I think I'm trying my best to give the best of me at least as a Muslim woman, as a mother, as a daughter, and as a wife.
Actually, you know what people think because you have such a huge following on TikTok,
Yeah,
and they constantly tell you what they think. I think there's a lot more love in your comment section than there is hate.
Yeah, Alhamdulillah, and I'm so grateful of this. I've been surrounded by very loving community. Even there's been like 1%, which sometimes it offended me, but it doesn't actually affect me long term lah. So basically, I will bounce back. I'll bounce back.
So, Doctor, I've got to ask you about inheritance because this is one area where it doesn't seem like it favors the woman. Most of the property will go to the man upon inheritance. In inheritance laws, women get less.
Yeah.
Why is this so, Doctor?
Yeah. Okay, this is a long story, but to make it short and clear and precise, we understand that in Islam, the head of the family is man. Okay, even though the woman might have a better profession in contact of family, but still the lead is man. Okay, so the philosophy behind that is when we inherit the property or the wealth. So the task or amanah as a leader is in the hand of man, and because of that, he need to be given just extra one time more than the woman, because he will later on use that extra for his wife and his members. Okay, so he will not use that extra for himself, but for his wife and members. Later on, you can see that the goodness and the benefit will flow to all of them.
I've said this before, this is also true. When a woman says, my money is my money and your money is also my money. That's quite true, because actually the husband has got to take care of the wife, and that is
Yes, I agree with that.
responsibility factor there emphasized in Islam. So we're going to take a short break, and when we come back, we'll continue this conversation as we look into Islam as a way of life. Don't go anywhere. All right, Jazz, we're going to save that song for another day, right, bro? Welcome back to Talk to Terrence. Thank you for staying with us on a conversation about Islam as a way of life. We've covered quite a lot of topics, but there's still one that beckons the question. What is Aidil Adha all about? What is Hari Raya Kurban? And I understand the story exists in other books. I mean, we've talked about people of the book, Doctor.
Yeah.
The story does exist in other books, but yet it is so prominent and so important to Muslims. Why?
Yeah. Well, Idul Adha, we should translate as the festival of sacrifice. Yeah. It very much connected to the pilgrimage. Okay. The two things happen in one big occasion. Those who travel to Mecca, which they perform the pilgrimage, they do many activities, many ritual practices. For example, they circle the Kaaba and then they do sa'i, running or walking between sa'i and Marwa and Safa. And then they also go to Arafah, okay, for many activities. Then for those who finish the dead activities, they will later on do the sacrifice, okay, and they slaughter animals such as camel, cow, okay, sheep, others. But those who are not able to go there because of physical or not able because of financially not able to go there, Islam gives them another way to celebrate this. We call it Adha. Adha means slaughter or sacrifice. It is sacrifice. And if we look at the history, the idea of Eid al-Adha is the commemorate of the practice done by Prophet Ibrahim and his sons, Prophet Ismail or Isaac in Jewish term. So the notions of commemorative year basically to give us the idea that human beings, sooner or later, we have to thank God for the sustenance that we have gained throughout our life. And Prophet Ismail show and express his gratefulness and thankfulness to Allah by doing that. And secondly, in the context of this event, we understand that we have to do personal sacrifice, which we consider the thing is very valuable and very touching to us. Very, very, for us, we love it, we care about it. But then if this is divine decree and divine order, we have to do it. Of course, in the context of Prophet Ibrahim's story, he actually not slaughter his son, Prophet Ismail. But the story behind that is we have to sacrifice the so-called, the most valuable thing that we have.
Or be willing.
Be willing.
Sacrifice.
For the sake of God. For the sake of we want to please God. And since you discussed about how the previous religion understand this idea, we do not do that because of we want to please God because God was angry to us. In the sense of in other religion, okay, they think that they have done sin, then they have to slaughter animals, okay, and contribute their blood to please God, to please God.
That's not the idea.
That's not the idea.
Right.
And also, God actually did not need that sacrifice.
Right.
Because He is not like human being.
Right.
He is God. Okay. So the idea behind that is we have to understand, we do it for the sake of we want to manifest and express our gratefulness and to educate ourselves to sacrifice something that we attach to. Yeah.
So how is Eid al-Adha celebrated in your family, Dr. Iman?
Basically, we're very, just a simple one. It depends on our, I think it's just everyone also, I think, celebrating it very modestly. Okay, yeah, we really appreciate this kurban thing. If we have like extra money, for example, that year, so basically we will do kurban for our family. So it's a nice thing to do. Sometimes it just feels self-relief. Sometimes you feel that, oh, we can share something with the poor. So certain people, sometimes they don't have this, what we call it as,
the benefit of
Yeah, the
consuming.
benefit. Yeah, the benefit of
Yeah.
consuming meat, for example.
yes.
So probably for us, the affordable one. Sometimes we have eat every day. Sometimes sampai muak, kan? Sampai oh, I don't want to eat meat today. I just want to eat rice and telur sometimes. So this kind of situation or the event, right? The event. We can share things that probably very, very valuable to certain people, right? And of course for us, because of we are spending our money there, so this money is something that it's very valuable. Should I spend this amount? Certain people might feel very burdened sometimes because of the amount might be quite high, right? So if they're willing to spend this kind of, this portion of what we love, especially money, right? So it is something that, like Doctor said, it's something that valuable for us to be shared among us.
So, Doctor, what happens during the celebration of Kurban in Malaysia when the animals are, basically sacrificed? What happens to the meat, the portioning? Who is the beneficiary?
Yeah, good. Before I respond to that question, I should also highlight how and why Islam encourage people to involve in that activities. Basically, in faith, we make a very clear idea on how we should slaughter the animal. Okay, we need to do the activity in a very very human kind of like way. Okay, do not use wrong equipment. We need to use the sharp, very sharp. We call it
Minimizing pain.
yes, yeah, minimizing pain. And then later on, the moment we slaughter it, okay, we have to do very quickly on how to make sure the meat can be processed quickly. Okay, for example, we make and we have teams, okay, of volunteer. For example, one a cow for 10 people. So they will divide their job and task to make sure that everything can be settled within usually one cow within 1 hour. Okay. Once they have that meat, okay, they will measure the meat, okay, and they have 2 or 3 different portions to share with the meat. First, those who participate, putting their money in that activity, they have certain portion. And second portion is to those who working and neighboring of that area. And thirdly is to the poor people. Okay, in Malaysia, all the malls and the center who organize this, they already know the poor or the center where they need to contribute that meat. Okay. Now, in the very highly technology time, I get to know that some malls and some organizations, they frozen the meat, and then they cook it later, and they make it like a special frozen food, which you can eat them naturally, no need to cook, and they give it to the person, to the people, not even during the first 3 days of Eid al-Adha, but later on, the next year or next few months after that.
Kind of like beef jerky
Yes.
or daging, what do you call that? Salai.
Yes, correct.
Processed meat,
Yeah.
but it can actually last for very
In
long.
that way, they can send it to people far away from that area.
Right.
Yeah.
So this is the practice here in Malaysia, and I'm sure around the world as well.
Yes.
But talk to us a bit about, when certain companies come up with services to
Yes.
help you actually slaughter camels in Nigeria,
Correct.
for example.
Yes.
Does that actually work? Does
Yeah.
it make sense? Is it the same practice?
Yeah, we do that. Many Muslim NGOs, okay, they have their networking in for example, third world countries or Africa or in other countries. And they will make sure that the money contributed by the Muslim here will be get to the right people over there. And they will monitor the process. Okay, and they will follow up and follow through everything. And this had been practiced for the past 10 years already. And we can show that this meat will reach to the poor people in a very fresh and so-called safe to be eat. to be eaten.
And if we talked about people who don't have the benefit of eating meat here, I mean, we can just imagine around the world there are a lot more of those individuals who have never tasted meat.
Yes.
Some yearn for it once a year during Qurban. Of course, this is possible. Dr. Imam, I just want to bring us back to the main subject of conversation on Islam as a way of life. If someone out there watching this right now is not sure, unsure about their own practice, where should they go? Where should they reach out to get advice?
Regarding the
Islam.
I'm sorry.
If someone was a Muslim
Yeah.
watching this right now, unsure, maybe confused about all the bombardment on social
Okay.
media, where do they go to set themselves straight?
Okay, personally, if me as a Muslim also, sometimes I really need that kind of, what you call it, as guidance.
Right.
Yeah, because of, I'm born as Muslim, but sometimes there are things that I
Right, yeah.
terlari sedikit kan.
Same here.
Yeah, so that's why I'm kalau if me as personally I would search for probably I would go for websites first and reach for the ustaz or some organization that can be trusted. And actually I'm myself, I will go not just focus on one source. I will go multiple sources because of Islam is very wide. It's very, you have like so much knowledge in Islam itself. So it's not a good practice. You just focus on one source only, because sometimes we have to look into other perspectives, which sometimes may give us some idea of what other people are practicing, as long as it doesn't against the Sharia. So basically, I will go into like, okay, I learn about this mazhab, different mazhab, especially when it's related to my practice, my job, especially, so that I don't want to give wrong knowledge or wrong practice to others, so that probably I'll be questioned later in the hereafter if I'm not doing my job well here. So basically, I will go into ask other people that in this particular field.
I understand there's a breadth of knowledge that spans all the way back to the time of the Prophet Muhammad, peace be upon him. So all that knowledge to actually codify, present it in understandable, bite-sized manner is very difficult, Doctor. I'm sure you can agree. Where's the best place to start for someone who is not a Muslim, who is looking for answers about Islam?
Yeah. I would say that the Quran is the first starting point that they should read and they should refer. Of course, they can read Quran in their own translations.
Yes.
And then try to understand the history of Islam. The history of Islam, which coming from the Prophet Muhammad, and also try to understand how these practices has been also emulated by his family.
Doctor, when it comes from a perspective of a non-Muslim trying to approach and understand Islam, where's the best place for them to start?
Yeah. I believe that the easy way to understand Islam is by understanding the Islamic worldview. It means that try to understand certain important keywords in Islam. For example, when we ask about understanding Sharia, and then ethics, and then belief or theology. So try to understand them, because in this context, many Muslim scholars have written a book about that. So once you go to these sources, later on they will guide you where you can find this information in Quran or in the Prophet traditions. So then you can go and having different understanding from Quran and Hadith.
Correct.
So I think this is the best way to non-Muslim to understand Islam.
So I think we presented basically an understanding about Islam from the practice of Muslims, and also from the perspective of an academic, as well as someone who faces a very different job, something you would not see a hijab-wearing veterinarian doing, but she is doing it, and she's proudly teaching you how she performs both her faith as well as her job in harmony. So we're looking forward to having more conversations like this in the near future. Thank you very much for being my guest on the show today. So we're going to end with a TikTok video that I think summarizes the worldview of Islam best. So let's hit the music.
I just want a little bit of peace. Peace and love. Peace and love. Peace and love.
Thank you for watching Talk to Terrence. Don't forget to follow us on social media. All our platforms are available for you to check out clips from our previous shows. All you have to do is look us up, Talk to Terrence on Instagram, Talk to Terrence on TikTok. And with that, we're signing off. Jazz, take us home.
Apa yang kulihat kini, mengapa hanya video funo sana sini. Di kaca TV, dalam internet, di FB hanya darah dan air mata. Ramai yang hina agamaku, terasa bakar jiwaku. Can't believe there are people like this. Can't believe we are living like this. Apa kata hanya terima saja. Assalamualaikum dunia, bangunlah semua. Lihatlah pada diri kita, semua serupa. Damalah manusia, kita bersaudara. Assalamualaikum dunia, assalamualaikum